got over the flu as we come prancing into the Obama era.
Well, Happy New Year, and glad to be here with you.
Let's hope that's going to strike a new chord here on planet Earth. Let's hope so, because I was happy as a lark and that sort of thing. But I'm so glad you got over that little flu you had and everything.
Yes.
And I'm anxious to find out about Cynthia, and I'm anxious to welcome you and the audience to a conversation with Colia Clark. Colia Clark is a real pioneer civil rights worker, was close working. We're going to find out a little bit about that with not only Dr. Martin King, but also Stokely, or Kwame Ture as he came to know. Been on the frontier of social justice, I guess, just about all your life, and we're going to be hearing a little bit about that and bringing it up to date, because she's been in touch with Cynthia McKinney from Georgia, who had been on a ship out in the Mediterranean recently vis-a-vis the Gaza situation and other matters. Plus, we want to give a tip of the hat to Mr. Obama in the new era. But welcome, Colia. It's so good to see you again.
Harold, it's always wonderful coming to your show, listening to you, and you know, you're a remarkable maverick in your own right.
Well, I'm not so remarkable.
Been so.
I
I'm always remarkable, believe
I've been
me.
that all my life, I think, and everything like that. But this is not about me. This is about you.
Yeah, I know.
Now, share a little bit, because we've done it before on another occasion.
Okay, well, I want to share first. I'm back from Haiti.
Yeah,
and
okay,
I came
good.
back
Yeah,
and had
okay.
this terrible flu.
Okay. You got it down there?
I didn't get it in Haiti. I was back, and my grandchildren came in from Nashville, Tennessee, and Philadelphia. Small part of them, about 6 of them, came, and 2 of them had very, very bad colds.
Oh,
and
you caught it.
Grandma got a bad cold. Spent 10 days with me, so Grandma caught what they left. They left it, and I got it.
That's not the first time in the human experience that's happened.
No, it's regular.
So what were you doing in Haiti, if I may?
It was really wonderful being in Haiti as an invite.
You've been there before?
It was my first trip, and I call Haiti home now. It's such a home. Oh, you've got to go. It's such
Thanks.
There's a more wonderful group of people on the planet than the people of
Real
Haiti.
humanness there.
Just warm.
Yeah.
Despite we've been devastated by hurricanes.
Absolutely.
Despite the fact we got a 9,000-member UN army standing there who has been serious incidents in terms of killing and beating up people and rapes. Despite the fact that since 1915, the United States government has played a heavy role, along with U.S. corporations, in making sure that Haiti does not come back into its own as the first black republic in the Western world.
I think the first republic in the Western world.
Yeah, well, we'd like to say republic.
Well, but they were really early.
Yes, 1801.
1801,
yes,
I knew it was way the heck back.
And they become, of course, really free of France in 1804, and that is considered the kickoff day. January 1 is, of course, the Independence Day. But Haiti is right now a victim of serious wage slavery. The average Haitian, if you can work, and only about 30% of the population are working.
30% only employed.
That's correct. And most are women.
So that's 70% unemployment rate?
That's correct.
That's pretty staggering.
Most are women. So you can also see what
most of those working
who are employed are women purposely. The little assembly plants that came in, there were deals worked out with the pre-Aristide government and, of course, now with the present government. Generally assigned to, and I'm really doing a little study on this, to elites. The elites who took power in 1840 have still held power, and whenever they were cast out, the United States always re-enters and throws them back in power. That group rakes off them and whoever, the corporations who come in with no taxes, all kinds of incentives. The World Bank really devastated the last economy of Haiti, has not provided loans. So Haiti is in the grips of this wage slavery where you make $2 a day and you can only work 5 days a week. Next door, not only to the powerful American state, but a Dominican, which isn't doing great, but isn't doing badly either, the Dominican Republic.
Dominican's the other part of Hispaniola,
That's correct. Freed by the Haitians.
Right. I didn't know that.
Freed by the Haitians by 1840. They freed. The Haiti defeats first Napoleon. And then
not a small matter.
No, not a small matter, especially in an hour when the European states could not defeat Napoleon.
Right.
Then they get rid of the Spanish and they have a standoff with the British, and in each case they come away successful. Haiti had been the wealthiest of the colonies.
kind of uppity against the powers that be.
That's right, in an hour when
Sounds
he was
to me
surrounded
like
by slavery and colonialism.
Right. God bless them.
But they were naive. I mean, they really thought the great Toussaint Louverture thought that, he was now in the company of men, as my daddy would say.
Yeah.
He found out he was not only not in the company of men, he was in the company of demons who were very angry. Haiti had been the wealthiest of the colonies.
Really?
Yes, it had been the wealthiest, producing more than any of the other colonies.
And sugar and stuff.
That's correct. It was the shining star of France.
No feeling. Okay.
But it was certainly not an apple in the eye of a new republic called the United States. Not an apple in the eye of Great Britain.
Right.
So we could go on. We'll come back one day and just talk about Haiti and invite in the Haitian Federation and Pierre Leroy out of upstate New York and others who are Haitians. Who can talk about their nation as I can't talk about it.
Yeah, well,
but
you're talking pretty
experience.
well about it. You got to think. You've been looking at it, and you said that it's the women that are employed.
Yes, mostly women. Mostly women.
What's about that? Women
well,
get
what happens
employed
is
around
that
women are more patient or something, or women can do things more disciplined. Why is that? Or
well, a number of reasons probably.
There?
The reality is that if you want organized labor, you don't hire father, you hire mama. Because if you're in a situation like Haiti, mama is least likely to rattle the boat and lose her $2.
Right.
All right?
I think it's part of a nurturing thing.
That's correct. It is very nurturing.
For the female side of humanity.
That's right. And yet Haiti does have a women's labor movement.
In universe, maybe.
That's right. That's right. We take more than men in that because we're mother.
Yeah, right.
We produce life, not that men don't participate in that.
There's a conservative thing to that, but that is a conservative thing that is based on nurture of the whole. And there's a lot of justice wrapped up in that way of thinking, I think, don't you?
Without a question.
It's lacking too much on this planet.
Oh, it's mama time.
We still have a couple problems.
You know, my scream is mama time. It's mama time, baby.
Okay.
We have to give birth to something that's new, and hopefully Obama.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have that faith that you have, but hopefully
Obama
will be.
I'm not sure that I have the. I'm not sure that I have the reservation. I might have the reservations you have too.
Okay.
The man's got to be kept to the fire and feet to the fire and everything like that.
That's
right. But it's a hell of a challenge.
But in Haiti, in precious Haiti.
How long were you there?
I was there 5 days.
5 days only.
And at the height of the labor movement and the women's movement, who also have a strong labor piece in Haiti.
Right.
Certainly not in spite of the government. Arrived just before the Brazilian delegation. And the Brazilian delegation, I came in on Thursday. They came in on Tuesday. They met with the head of UN forces that was there. He's a Brazilian general.
Right. Okay.
They met with him, minister, as they call it, the UN forces called minister, and Haiti wants a minister out and immediately. And it is alleged, they reported, I should say, that the head of the UN forces there, the general from Brazil, made it plain to them that Haiti was not a security problem. Haiti was not a security problem.
What's the meaning of that? What's the upshot of that?
The upshot of that is why is Brazil and the UN forces in Haiti?
Okay.
Why is there a standing army in Haiti?
Standing 5,000, I heard you say?
9,000. Of which 7,000 are troops. The others are administrators, consultants of various sorts.
I didn't even realize that was the case.
Yes, it's been there since 2004. In the interest of keeping peace. But they certainly have been anything but keeping peace.
I'm not very familiar even with the politics of it all and everything.
Well, you know, that's the Aristide who was taken away by the America went in and took away a president. Because he obviously stood against America's interest.
Amy Goodman's followed that
then another one replaced, and it's a big. I think we need to do a show on Haiti.
Oh yeah.
So that we
have people here at MNN doing that, don't we? I think we have people.
And I don't know, but we need to.
We should connect better with the people that are.
Well, I will be connecting because I will be doing.
You're coming online to do your program.
Yes, soon. I am, and I will be doing a show on Haiti because while I was there. With this beautiful and wonderful people, I discovered that in 1801, the Constitution of Haiti was written, and the African and the United States was guaranteed citizenship along with all freedom-loving people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can see why America was very upset that her slaves, who she was supposed to be freeing in 1808, were being guaranteed a freedom here.
I don't know. I think
a citizenship in a new republic called Haiti.
I have a thing. I don't know how things were in the Caribbean. It was just my favorite line, like you know, is James Joyce saying, "History be a nightmare," from which we're attempting to awaken, and it's just a nightmare. But I think the treatment of the slaves in North America was perhaps as worse than anywhere else in terms of its characteristics and effects.
Well, the enormity of that we can't argue with, or the peculiar institution with Stamps and others have argued, you know, that America had a very different
North America.
approach.
I'm talking
about U.S. slavery now, because we remember that's French slavery also, so we should, I mean, Canadian slavery.
And you got Brazilian slavery, and you got
right, but that's Canadian slavery looking at North America. We don't have the same in Mexico with Africans, even though there was a 5% African population in Mexico. Not that was not slavery in Mexico. I mean, it just wasn't the same.
We may be getting over the racial thing, do you think?
I think...
I mean, it's going to be lingering there.
Now, what has happened is people are trying to push race aside at the expense of a mass African population trapped at the bottom in the slums. Mass African population. 40+ million people trapped at the bottom in poverty, where every institution in the country is embedded with racism.
You're talking now Africa?
I'm talking about Africans in the United States.
Oh, Africa in the United States. You're not talking about the continent.
I'm not talking about Africa continent. I'm talking about Africa locally. And so when we begin to talk about, and we can talk about Africa too, because when we talk about Haiti,
they got problems.
Because when we talk about Haiti, we're talking about Africa. When we talk about Haiti, we're talking about Brazil. We're talking about Venezuela and Colombia. We're talking about all of those little islands in the Caribbean, Guyana. You know, just name it. We're talking about those places, and we're talking about, not that we are distinct from them, just that I want to focus on us and another way to make sure when we're talking about racism in this country, racism is not going anywhere. We're getting a more dangerous form of racism.
What's that now?
And that danger is if the word goes out that there's no racism, and the African is still trapped here in this condition.
Right.
We have no tool with which to fight. At least you could fight and scream. But it puts some
you
muzzle on us.
And get some action going.
We are muzzled. Saying, well, you can't say that because. And I'm finding that. I was a bus driver about a couple of weeks ago. I get on the bus, not feeling well, too, because I had to take some kids to the airport. And there was a discussion between a young man and the bus driver. And the bus driver, a black brother, around 50, 55 maybe, he screamed, "There's no more race in America. We need to put that behind us." And I'm looking at this bus driver, and I'm thinking, and find out, I heard the words coming out of my mouth. Well, that's a lie.
Well,
because I certainly was not going to have that on my grandchildren.
That's a dream.
No, it's not even a dream. It's a fantasy.
But there is something going on. I saw that inauguration was the most watched program in the world. And the world was waiting, and it was him. And we got to give some credit to the breakthrough nature of the possibility of the moment in which we live, that represented by Mr. Obama.
I am not getting away from Mr. Obama. I think Mr. Obama, and I think the world would agree with me.
He's a class act.
Not only is he a class act, and a very bright and intelligent young man, but Mr. Obama has brought inspiration.
Hope.
And hope. Inspiration and hope are kind of joined together. So he's brought a new inspiration in a hour where it wasn't about race at all. It was always about the economic system. The economic condition in which America is faced, and we saw that blow up as his candidacy.
Isn't it you who told me down Mississippi, or was it Missouri? My sister's from Missouri, that there's a saying, you got to hit a mule upside the head to get his attention.
I wasn't telling you about, but that's very popular all across the South.
That's all across.
Zora Neale Hurston does that, these mules and men.
This system that's run by the people who run the world and that kind of stuff has been hit upside the head by this economic in the head, upside the head, in the head, right? By this economic thing, and things are, in a certain sense, up for grabs at a very basic level about basic principles by which we're going to operate this whole system, don't you think?
I would agree with you.
There seems to be a willingness to listen.
And that's the danger of Obama.
Well, the danger is he's willing to listen?
Not just he's willing to listen. The danger is that you got at a point where the system is being hit upside the head. That you get somebody very similar, not the same, as Roosevelt's Great Depression, who comes on stage, bringing a program with them. We can solve this, brothers. When in fact, maybe the system itself needs to be put afloat and set into the ocean. And we're talking about creating something very new in America.
Well, that might be that by his saying, in a certain sense, I think it's just almost hard to deal with everything, but it's like history the detritus of history, or the institutional structures, thought patterns, institutions, assumptions of human nature, assumptions of reality, are all going to have to be somehow liaisoned with and subsumed within a new order. But that at least when he's thinking about so you have to have a thing. So we have to get at it at a level where something different is making possible what was not possible historically.
That's correct.
There's something different in the zeitgeist or in the spirit of the age that makes it different. And he seems to be trying to resonate to that thing where we're going to try and reason together and all of that, and not just co-opt the revolutionary fervor for change for the least advantaged among us that a lot of people are fearful. He's just going to go rest on his laurels and take care of the rich, as always the politicians have. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he has a close alignment with the rich. Obviously.
Well, he has to have. And in order, you can't be president without.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Right?
Well, he could have.
And the people that are of the rich or of the leading class or who have set the template do not have the vision in the minds of many of what's required on a world scale. They don't have the vision that they're enunciating and they need. And the fault really lies with the intellectual community. Hasn't come up with, where the hell is Voltaire? Where are the people with big ideas that can subsume this economic thing, get it straight, what went wrong, what do we do, how do we lay aside, all of that. But he has the quality of where he would try and call that forth, it seems to me. Perhaps.
I would have thought so, too. I'm disappointed in his cabinet appointments.
Well, Ron Emanuel.
Because they don't reflect the inspirational thinking that he's brought to the world. This command of language, this command of...
Well, he's trying to be on the high ground.
Yeah, but he
talks to
the high ground with no low people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're low humanly.
Well, no.
Just in terms of the men and women he's appointed to this cabinet.
Well, who do you object to mostly? Ron Emanuel is the chief of staff?
He is my most objection.
Okay, we want to talk about Cynthia out there in the waters of the Mediterranean, for one thing, because he's very much involved in that, in terms of the Israeli connection.
That's right.
That's a connection geopolitically. He's talking about bombing Pakistan and Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Many a fight has been lost in Afghanistan. You ever see the movie Charlie Wilson's War? Have you seen that yet?
I don't think so.
That's a good movie. That's a very good movie.
Is it World War I, World War II?
No. That's the invasion of Afghanistan
by
Russia, and then the fighting back, and we went and fought them. Mm-hmm. I think it may have reference to the situation. But yeah, there are these questions, and then Hillary. Do you like Hillary at state? And these people who are working on the economy. I mean, you take exception with some. Who would you like to have seen? Let's say instead of Ron Emanuel, who would you like to have been? How would you like to have been? Ramsey Clark? He could have been chief of staff, or who would you like to have seen in the place of the people that you are objecting to?
Well, for Secretary of State, I think that Richardson would have made a finer character. Of course, he's got issues.
He's got some sort of a little accounting issue or something that like a nanny gate thing or something. Yeah.
Howard Dean is a very powerful person. I mean, we got some very powerful players here. Mm-hmm. And John Conyers, not everybody overlooks, I guess, his age, because he's quite aged now.
I like John Conyers.
But John Conyers
Judiciary. He's in Judiciary now, isn't he?
Right, he has the Judiciary Committee. I guess he'll still remain.
But that's because we would like to see a lot of the people in the Bush administration in the dock. I would like to see them in the dock and in prison for the things that they've done. I would like that, but I don't think that's going to politically happen.
Well, no, I don't know. The world may demand that.
Yeah. Well, he's on the Judiciary Committee, and a lot of people want to impeach them for things they did and so forth. Mm-hmm. I mean, it should be something other than just some sexual liaison thing with a cigar or something that Mr. Clinton got done for. But they were really, they bored us into a war, all these kind of things, you know.
I think we should
but that's us on the left, right?
I think we should not underestimate the power of the international community.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because I was what we are talking about, here's a Nuremberg.
Yeah. Pardon?
A Nuremberg is what we are talking about when we're talking about
judgment
Bush.
at Nuremberg, you're talking?
Yeah, we need to take Bush to a Nuremberg, because that's what we need to be talking about.
That's what we did after the Second World War.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
And if it applies to other folk, why not to us?
Yeah, they established a precedent there.
That's correct.
Well, that's for people down the order, not take, they can't say we just followed orders, that kind of thing. But international law is evolving and that kind of thing. And international law still takes a back seat to the national sovereign state and all of that kind of stuff. So we haven't gotten to that order yet, except maybe at a moral level.
America has signed on to the Declaration of Human Rights with what I called reservations.
Yeah.
We reserve the right not to sign on.
Well,
if issues come up that involve us, I'll send it to with reservation. But there has been a sign on. So I just think that we as Americans need to understand that piece we need to set aside, and we the world's people. And as people of the world, and I think this crisis that we're in, if it does nothing else, for me, history is like a slow driving rain.
Slow driving rain?
A slow driving rain.
Okay.
You see it coming down ever so slow.
Yeah.
You don't see the puddles and finally the depth of the pond and finally the overflowing streams. It just comes so slow.
You think
history is a slow driving rain.
Well,
and either we will step up to the plate, as Dr. King has said, as Americans, and accept our responsibility for what we do in the world.
You mean over all Americans?
All of Americans.
Yeah.
Are we going to be swept to the trash heaps of history very quickly?
Well, that could happen very quickly. It could pass over to China or something, and even just in the realpolitik and everything. We don't have a vision. I don't see a vision of real liberation and everything that the future requires. I don't think we see anything. If I could, I don't want to dwell on it. And I want to talk about Cynthia and her experience.
But that's
anyway,
the hope of an Obama,
I don't
don't you
see,
think?
if I may, Colia, it's really good to talk with you. I always enjoy it. I see, we just did a program. And we're going to, about Africa, we're going to air a program following this one, the day before we do your program with a man who's talking about Africa, Mr. Siri. But I see two things. I see a political reality, a lot of institutions inherited, a lot of thought patterns, a lot of what constitutes history, sovereign states, this kind of see a lot of a reality as it's perceived. And then I see at another level capability, which is there's a capability that's moving apace, apart from the constrictions of holding to outdated things. We had racism holding over, and we had that. And we now have weapon systems, I swear to God, this is a major issue, that are species lethal now. The weapon systems that exist, and this should be documented and put into everybody's consciousness every day, it would seem to me, that the weapon systems that exist in our hands and could be set off by all kinds of narratives being very vociferously advanced by various people, let's say in Israel or in Pakistan or wherever, this kind of thing, that could be set off, that if they're unleashed, there's not a single human being survive. The weapons unleashing of the capability, which is characteristic only of this very moment in history. So that slow driving rain is sort of like Katrina.
Yeah, that's
in terms of a historical thing. It's picking up fast all the time. There should be something on the opposite side of that negative scenario that would be equally existentially significant in terms of the alteration in the technological capability or something of mankind that's evolving on the positive side. And it never seems to be invoked because we're all enthralled to institutions that were formulated within a condition that's been transcended at the level of capability by the evolution of human technology and human progress. And they never can reference those two. We're all caught up driving into the future with our eye on the rearview mirror.
Yeah, that's because,
there's a
talk about the weapons, we have to also talk about those who make the weapons and those who control the weapons. The earlier show that you had was talking about.
Well, that was about economic theory.
That's right, but economic theory is what
we don't have the economic theory that's going to liberate the planet.
That's correct.
And we need it.
We need it.
And where the hell is it? And why haven't we come to it?
And
we got all kinds of Howard University. We got Nobel Prizes. We got all these people. We got all this capability. We got this technology. And the theory that is liberating and appropriate to what the future requires, we do not have from our leadership.
It's tied up in promises. It's tied up by,
that's
by the corporate structures that must keep themselves in place, they think. I have never understood why you would cut off the limb you were sitting on.
Yeah.
But what we see is
up
corporate
in the tree.
world. Yeah, you're up in the tree.
Yeah, you're up in the tree.
We're up in the tree.
You should be on, if you're going to cut off the pruning end, not the end you're sitting on.
That's right.
And that's what they're doing.
Our planet is being cut off and spawned somewhere. I don't know where it's going.
Right.
So when you go to talk about becoming roaches, because that's what it's about. It's about
we wouldn't become roaches. The roaches would survive. Yeah.
That's right. They will be
there would be some other forms. No, but Homo sapien. Do you understand how significant that is? We've lived 10,000 generations, and we get to a point where there's something new.
Amen.
We're so clever at extending our consciousness and technology. We've come something new. It's like the end of a pregnancy. It's 9 months. The water's going to break. There's something needed. There's a new, not just one little system, not just liberation of this group or that group or something, but something really big, new that's coming that we're privileged to live in terms of now.
It's coming.
And it is.
It is.
And it's coming like a slow drain, or is it going to come
like a slow driving road? But we're going to have this break point because when that flood
we're
hits,
coming there now.
Remember when the flood hits?
The Katrina.
The current is built.
Yeah. Build up from the slow driving rain.
If you look at the backup, I think the Katrina is less of an example than here than you're taking the 1927 flood.
Yeah.
Where actually, at the 27 flood, the water's back up from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to Cairo. Backing up.
Really?
Yeah, backed up water. This is a very awkward flood, and then it backs up. And the African singing those old blues.
Yeah.
That water was rising.
Sing it, Daryl.
That water was rising, and the evening as it comes. As people watch the water come, these are people, the peasants, as we would say, the tenant farmers living out on these plantations. And what they are describing is what they see.
Yeah. Right.
This is
and
not
water coming.
That's right. The water is rising. The deepness that has come, and that's what's happened with the slow driving rain. You get the water coming. It's just coming.
Yeah.
But when it hits, you recognize you're knee deep in this stuff.
Well, we're knee deep in the muddy now. I think
we're up to our neck.
Okay.
And the big muddy is tough mud, because Mississippi is tough mud.
And where do we go for ideas? Where are the ideas that are relevant? Let's say to the economy. The traditional economists are all signing on. There's Gettner and all the people in Volcker, and they got all their ideas they've used in the past and everything. And it doesn't seem to be. Where are the new ideas? Do ideas matter? Or let's say, does it matter economic theory? Or how are we going to organize things? Or thinking comprehensively? It seems, are we anti-intellectual in this country or world? We don't want that. We just want people say, see, people are going to be very taken. If they're being foreclosed on, they're going to be concerned about the foreclosure that they're, and it's a mess everywhere. So everybody's going to be messed up. But where are the ideas that can get behind?
Harold,
do you understand?
Harold, listen. What I'm trying to get to you is that the people with the ideas, when we think intellectual in America, we're hierarchical. You got to be in these school systems, and then usually from Harvard down. Rather than thinking of intellectual as being the thinking of people.
The people,
who experience each day. Because it's going to be out of those people that may be the little boy on the street who's been shooting himself up and shooting. It may be the farmer out in the West. But it's going to be from the people that we're going to see an emergence, because the people are feeling now the weight more than they ever had.
But the
of
people,
this thing from the top.
The people are not going to have the luxury to think abstract. They're not going to be able to think intellectual. They're going to be thinking about, what the hell am I going to do to not have my house foreclosed? Or what am I going to do now that I'm out of a job? How am I going to get food to eat? They're so caught up with the immediacy. Is it important to be abstract thinking about the state of the universe, the state of the whole world, the state of the whole system? There's a certain ability to be to be thinking that way.
We could take example after
or
example,
not,
Harold.
but I don't think it's going to come out of
We could pull from anywhere in the world. We could
Yeah.
pull from slavery and those Africans who had the weight of everything on them in the fields.
Yeah, right.
And yet, emerging from those fields came a whole new group of people.
That's true. I just heard about
movements.
Do you ever hear?
We could take John Brown. We could go forward from slavery, and we could go to those people who were under stress and
And they did emerge, didn't they, in the Renaissance?
And wherever else we see the emergence of unions. We will have something new. The question is,
and it will come out of those circles more than the Harvard dining clubs,
that's
right?
correct.
You think
Harvard may shape it
well do,
later, but it's going to come from the people.
Okay, it might be. Creative comes from there. It does.
Creative comes from the
I heard
people.
tell of a guy named Herbert Harrison, who was inspirational to Garvey and a whole lot of things back turn of the century and everything. Intellectual leader I'd never heard of. I just heard. Josh told me about it the other day. Got a major book out now. So it'll be coming from those places. Okay.
From most places. From the Henry Highland Garnett, who formed black nationalism in Albany, New York, or Troy, New York, rather, in the 1830s.
Yeah.
David Walker.
Yeah.
Scholarly, obviously, well-trained, but his appeal, the struggle relates to slavery. And we could go, I'm saying we could go to labor, we could go to women, we could go any place for it, because now it's any man's game, because any woman's game, excuse me. Now it's any woman's game, because you have the top moving down, because as jobs are lost at the top, those people got to go somewhere. They're going to go clambering toward the bottom, and when the two hit, we're going to see sparks.
Well, we got to have something coming. I tell you, it's a real challenge, and it's good that it's in the air. And I think one thing is I hope that the town fathers in Manhattan and then the Manhattans across the country have the wit to keep this public access cable television thing available to the people.
No, the people
because you're going to have people coming. Like McLuhan used to say, there are people, young students walking in the streets that could solve our top problems in physics because they have modes of perception we lost long ago. Creativity comes from strange places often. And also it can be autodidact. People can teach themselves. And so that's a promise of public access and communication, and you're part of that. I know, and I'm so glad you're getting ready to start launching your own series.
Oh, I'm really excited about it.
Glad to hear about Haiti, glad to hear about Obama and that sort of thing. Now talk to me, because you've been in touch with your friend Cynthia.
I want to talk with Cynthia McKinney.
Yeah, because you're representing her in a lot, or you're very close with her.
I'm very close with her.
And she's a major force in this society.
Cynthia is a major force in the world.
Yes, yes.
And what we're seeing is her forging her place in the world
and
community.
She's been involved with the thing in Gaza.
Yeah, in Gaza.
That is, you were just maybe getting over now, but maybe not. But go ahead, talk to us.
Well, I want to say, I got a call early one morning, before day, around 2 o'clock, from a former student of mine who had been one of my graduate students. Of course, she's long since did what I didn't do. She finished her PhD.
Yeah.
She called me from Kentucky and said, you know, Cynthia's on a ship in the Gaza, and it's being hit by the Israelis, and she's all upset, and she's screaming. I'm saying, Nancy, calm down.
How long ago that was? How long ago?
That was
about a month ago.
About a month ago.
Yeah, right. I remember. Yeah.
And I said, Nancy, calm down. What do you mean Cynthia's on the ship? I didn't know Cynthia had left for Lebanon.
Yeah. Okay.
She said, oh no, I don't care what you say. She's on the ship.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how do you know?
Ship out of Cyprus, I think.
She said, yes, it's coming out of Cyprus. One of her former students was a young reporter on the ship, had called someone else, and now the word was moving through the internet and everywhere else, and Al Jazeera had posted to the internet. So I get up and I call Don DeBar. You know Don DeBar?
I don't know.
He's with WBAI. He does the early morning show.
Don what? DeBar?
Don DeBar.
I don't happen to know.
I'd
like to. Yeah,
great.
Yeah, they got great people at BAI.
Really
is Tony Riddle still down there?
I'm not sure.
Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, I called Don.
I know Josh
Don didn't know, because Don was close to Cynthia. I said, well, he said, I told her not to get on the. He said, you told her not to go. Nobody even brought it to me. So I was like, wait a minute now. So my next call went to David Jesu, who is Cynthia's closest friend and confidant.
Okay. Travels with her and stuff?
Yes, he travels with her. But lately, he's been doing a lot of his own stuff, and she's been doing stuff. He's had some legal problems in Atlanta and struggling with his lawyers and stuff around his own. He's from Haiti.
They do keep throwing up these legal barriers, don't they?
That's correct. And
COINTELPRO and go ahead.
Cynthia was blocked from going out of the country to the human rights, to that conference celebrating the 60th year.
State Department or what? Who blocked her?
I am not certain yet. I'm assuming that she was blocked by the State Department, but she was not allowed to fly to Atlanta to speak, to be the guest speaker at the 60th year of the Declaration of Human Rights, which was taking place in Syria.
In Syria, they had a celebration.
That's right.
Delano, Eleanor Roosevelt.
That's correct.
Had a huge hand in putting. That's a major document.
And so she had wanted to go to do that, and was
60th
blocked.
60th anniversary.
I just got from her, the email saying she was blocked, but she never explained the critical details. So I'm not sure what the details are.
Yeah.
But when I heard she was on this ship, of course, now I'm excited. My hair's flying, and I'm calling all over the country.
Sure.
And I might have even called you, because I was like,
I did get a call from you. Well, I got another call recently, just a little while ago.
I got a call from you recently.
Yeah. Well, we've been in touch.
We've got to make sure that we do not allow the American government and the Israeli government or whoever to destroy this voice of freedom.
Well, now talk about it. It amounts to, Gaza amounts to a big concentration camp or a prison for the Gazan people who are there, the Hamas people led government. A
friend of mine refers to Gaza as a bottle. He said they're bombing people in a bottle.
Yeah, or in a prison yard.
Yeah, it's in a bottle where you're down. It's no way for you to go. You're in the bottle.
It's about the size of the District of Columbia, miles, I guess, or something like that. Very small and terrible, and they've got a terrible blockade on it. I've heard also, in terms of her, she had a boat going, I guess, with some medicine.
They were going to take
relief
medicine.
efforts. The people don't have food. The people don't have medicine. They don't have anything.
That's right. They're being blocked from everything.
Right.
Total
and
power
that blockade, I'm wondering if that blockade, or about that, I'm really curious about it. By what right does one entity have the ability to blockade another, and how does all that work, or where does it come?
Well, if you've got the biggest guns in this case,
it's just a matter of power.
Cynthia's boat is in the water.
Yeah.
And I talked with Cynthia. She called
me. They had some supplies, cooking oil and food, medicine for the people
suffering
in the water.
Gaza. They're taking this medicine into Gaza. And she said, she called me. She was coming in from the airport. First call she makes it to me. She said after her mother. She said, I thought I was going to die. Of course, she's a very courageous woman.
She is. She has been right out in the
front. They struck from one side. And she said, we would
Wait a minute.
Cyprus.
No, spell it out a little bit. They're coming out of Cyprus, going to...
No, they're far from Cyprus.
Oh, they're in international waters.
International waters.
And they're going with supplies to take to Gaza.
That's correct.
And they were attacked by an Israeli ship.
A team of
who rammed them.
Boats. They rammed them.
Does Israel admit that? Israeli boats. Does Israel admit to doing that, or what? Or where does it stand?
She said they gave 3 stories. When they first were rammed, they recognized themselves that they were too far from Cyprus to go back. They recognized they were in international waters. Nothing could be seen by no one.
Right.
In total shock. Well, Al Jazeera sent a message, and Israel said, well, no, they didn't ram them.
Wait a minute. Al Jazeera representative was on the boat? CNN representative was on the boat?
CNN was on the boat, but Al Jazeera.
How big was the boat, do you know?
On the boat.
Was it a speedboat, or was it a yacht?
It was not a speedboat. It was one of those big old wooden things.
Oh, a wooden thing.
It was a wooden boat. She thinks that they only survived because it was a wooden thing.
Okay,
they first struck them from one side, then they struck them from the front, and then they struck them from the other side.
Had they got warnings? Did they give warnings?
No warnings whatsoever.
No warnings ever. They came and they okay, go ahead.
Just assault.
And she's on the boat. How many people were on the boat, roughly? 100 or do you know?
There wasn't that many.
Not that many even.
Bigger, but mostly was on this boat supplies and enough people to be able to deliver these medical supplies into Gaza.
And that's what she was doing, running medical supplies to Gaza.
Taking medical supplies in Gaza and being there as a voice for people from the West.
Right.
And so Israel is lying and
where did the supplies come from? Do we know?
She didn't say specifically, but I think most of them out of Canada.
Could have come from most anywhere.
Yeah, but I think
it's humanitarian.
Yeah, the humanitarian.
Okay, now don't forget.
There's no guns on here. There's no bombs on here. This is a big ship in the waters, not carrying anything that could be considered lethal.
It's a ship, not a big ship necessarily. I mean, okay, yeah. Okay.
It's a wooden ship. We're gonna have her on to talk about.
There have been a few like speedboats and things that have gotten some stuff into Gaza, and even with their okay, go ahead. Yeah.
She really felt that Israel's intent was to sink the ship.
Oh, they think
I said, do you really think that? She said, yeah, nobody would have ever known.
Yeah.
They would have just sunk
They
the
hadn't
ship.
Got any feed going from the Al Jazeera
so
or
huge
CNN.
Gashes are locked
They didn't
in
have
the
connection back to the world and on the ship.
Al Jazeera
they were sending signals there in real time.
Al Jazeera sent the world, and that's how they got help from Lebanon.
In real time.
That's correct.
Okay, so then the world would know. At least there'd be a record of it. Yeah.
Because Algiers was on board sending. CNN was on board, but somehow I didn't think it had the same capacity.
Well, maybe they just didn't have the right satellite connection or something.
I think
you have to be connected by satellite.
They were sending through Al Jazeera.
Or Iridium or something, yeah. Okay.
But anyway, so they are in the waters. These big, huge gaping holes are in the boat. The boat is obviously...
Gaping holes in the boat?
holes in the boat. Obviously, it's taking on water. And they have nowhere to go.
Oh, my God in heaven.
Nowhere to go. But the word got into Lebanon, and I tell you, they got help out there in a hurry.
What? Okay.
They got help out there. In fact, they were taken to Lebanon.
Wait a minute. There was water being taken on, but the ship
was left in the water.
Stayed afloat.
Yeah, it stayed in. Yes, because
it stayed afloat.
Wooden ship, and she thinks that's what saved their lives.
Okay, and then they were towed into Lebanon.
No, they were taken by small boats into Lebanon.
Taken by small boats, individuals.
Yes.
And the boat sank. The boat that they had been on?
The boat was damaged, but it didn't sink.
It didn't sink, and the supplies are offloaded or something?
I'm sure they brought the supplies on
Okay, so the point is then Israel has the ability to do that, to put a blockade around Gaza, and to do that.
In violation of international law. You're in the middle of international waters.
You're in international waters, but you're heading for Gaza, and that they've got the right, or by what right? That's what I'm curious about, because I'm always interested not only in the event. I'm always interested in the thinking behind the event and the context of it and everything. So they were going to go to Gaza, and by what right do they have to put a blockade on Gaza? If Gaza is supposed to be the province of the Palestinian people, by what right do they say you cannot have a boat go to Gaza because we're blockading it? Or an embargo? By what right is that done and asserted in the world?
Well, there's no right in international waters to attack anybody.
What?
But
no, but if they were going
if they were crossing into
Gaza
embargo, then that's different.
Yeah, but by what right can the embargo be? But I'm trying to talk to you in terms of international law, or by what? Is it just brute power that you have the power to say we're going to embargo that country and that's it, like the United States did with the country of Iraq for a long time? 1,500,000 people starved because of our embargo. By what right is that able to be imposed by one country upon one people upon another? I mean, what's the reality there?
I'm sure there'll be arguments that if you bring in stuff in that can be used, lethal weapons that can be used against our people, they're shooting missiles against our people.
Yeah,
you can make all kinds of arguments.
They can trot out old what is it, Amendment 51 about protecting themselves. Nita Renfrew is a friend of mine who used to follow, and they would not let some pencils, because they got the dual use idea, something could be maybe used. And there was a big shipment of pencils that had graphite that could be ground out and made into powder. They wouldn't let the pencils go in to be at the school under the fact that the dual use, those pencils could become something that would attack Israel. And so, I mean, you can take that dual use to where nothing can be put in, because the industrial process is going to develop things where you have to stay barefoot, pregnant, backward in the, and you cannot progress at all under this dual use thing. And by what right does a country have to establish that kind of a situation?
What right does a country have to bomb a UN center in Gaza?
Well, the Israelis will be saying they're legitimate. What I'm trying to get is behind.
I understand you're behind that. Yeah, there's nothing behind that you and I don't come up with an international law. Or
like, say, when the American rebels, those terrorists, George Washington and Jefferson and that, and they made a revolution against the British. And the British called them terrorists, like they called Mr. Mandela a terrorist. They call him a terrorist and everything. And the French finally did come and brought support to the revolutionaries, the revolutionaries did not accept the legitimacy of the control that the British had over them. They didn't accept them as legitimate in some sort of historical order. They said it was illegitimate. The French brought supplies, so it made it possible for the Americans to win over in their revolution. The Palestinians do not accept Israel. That seems to give them the right, and they've even lobbed some firecracker into the South Desert or something to assert that. They were elected. They do not think Israel's legitimate. A good deal of the world does not think Israel is legitimate in a historical sense. A good deal of it. And so they've got the right to do that and put a blockade on that country. And I'm just asking you, what's the reality behind all that? It's just plain old brute force. Whoever's got the force.
Whoever has the United States in their hands.
Okay,
with all
then
of
why
America's
is
power.
Okay,
and
power.
America has used that power because Israel, for whatever we want to say about Israel, it's a satellite for the United States. It provides the United States with whatever it needs to be able to control elements of what West Asia, called the Middle East these days, to control all of Africa from that base.
They are
uniquely situated.
And so the power resides in Washington.
Of course it does.
Okay, the power resides in Washington.
But I want to talk about Britain and France.
Washington assumes their order and way of thinking, even though they don't even have an economic system that's going to be, they assume what would be called, they are legitimate. They think they're legitimate, like King George thought they were legitimate, or those French thought they were legitimate against what happened in Haiti. They think they're and they assert that on the basis of power only. It's just that they've got power. Or they think that they are, and they have their own narrative, or the Israelis think they're legitimate, and the other side is not legitimate.
Well, the Israelis obviously think they're legitimate.
Yeah, they think, and in fact, they hold very dearly to that narrative they have about the return of the chosen people of the world, and they got all this stuff. They hold, which makes it very dangerous because they got a couple hundred atomic weapons, for instance, and they hold to that narrative, and they're expanding into the West Bank. They're creating apartheid and that sort of thing. Most of the world does not accept them as, I wouldn't say, I'm not sure. They say the international order. They're just talking about the bullies that run the world currently under the system now, backed by the United States. They've raided our treasury for all kinds of money. We can send them Apache helicopters and all kinds of flamethrowers and machine guns to machine gun people and so forth like that, and there's no objection to that. Why can we send all that to Israel and nothing can be sent to the Palestinians in Gaza? What is the reality behind that? And why does that exist?
Because we're not permitting it, Harold. That people in Palestine would then have what?
Well, they would
be able to defend themselves.
Yeah, but you can't have that.
Defenseless.
You can't have them because they're illegitimate. And they're not accepting the legitimacy of something that is being asserted by, let's say, the Israeli or the Zionists or the neocons who are behind the Zionists. So what I'm trying to get at is, how do we determine what is legitimate? And the assumption by when they say the international community, they're not legitimate except in their own terms of having the power to assert their particular narrative, is what I'm saying.
Well, Israel's legitimacy, if there isn't legitimacy, lies in the fact that
they have weapons.
Lies in the fact that following World War II, Russia included, set Israel up. We got Russia, France, Britain, United States. They're setting up this state. Israel was offered, the place we call Israel today.
In Uganda.
Was offered Uganda. And Kenya.
Or why the hell didn't they give them Bavaria? It was the Germans who did all the damage to them at Auschwitz. It wasn't anything to do with Palestinians. They could have given them Bavaria.
This move started before.
Yeah, I know.
It started before World War II.
Herzl, yeah.
All right,
yeah,
so we have to go back and learn. So obviously, that established the legitimacy. They've been there now 60 years. So we have got to look at how long they've been there.
I'm not so sure that's necessary.
Oh no, I'm not making
to assume that.
I'm saying that's how long they've been there.
That's how long they've been. I don't think you have to assume their legitimacy.
Argument in the world is they've been there for this long time. So therefore, there should be something worked out between the Israelis and the Palestinians that allows the Israelis the right to exist as a state. The Palestinians must forget that their homes and their land and whatever
else was taken. It's been stolen because the others have the power. It's sort of like the American Indians.
Millions of their people's lives have been the same story.
Yeah, yeah.
Millions of their people's absolutely the same story as Indians.
Yeah, yeah. The American Indians
is the same story.
And there was no way. How do we deal with that, Colia? That when the Europeans came into North America, there were Indians. The Iroquois had a democratic system. There were a lot of values, but it was written with the Industrial Revolution and the power. There was going to be no way that the rights of the Indians were going to be able to assert themselves against the onslaught of the European invasion. There was historically, and so they haven't. Every treaty was broken that was made with them because there was such overwhelming power, and the power of those who conquer to subdue those they conquer is part of history, right?
That's right. And
so Israel's saying, you've been conquered, Palestine.
Forgive and forget.
Yeah.
Why don't you forget? Forgive and forget.
Yeah. You're a conquered people. Go away. I mean, we don't care. We're just going to take it. We're going to create the settlements. We're going to make Bantustan, and we're legitimate. And they've got Apache helicopters. Apache helicopters.
Called Apache.
Yeah, all kinds of weapon systems that can flow endlessly off legal docks on their thing and just make them such a superpower that, they can do that. Why can that be done? Whereas you can't get pencils into Iraq because they might be made into gun. The imbalance of power between the strong and the weak is what I'm getting at. And the idea that the American Indians, I don't think if they could have fought it, and you got the Arab and the Islamic nation is not in such a situation, and you have a larger Islamic world. I think Israel might be in trouble at an existential level.
I think we may be in trouble.
They may have made
we may all be in trouble.
They may have made a mistake in establishing the state of Israel, because you have a resurgent Islamic world, and now they wanted to go and bomb Iran again. And it's all now the dialectic set up against the Islam.
But we are fighting Israel's own prophecy. I mean, that's a part of what we're faced with. One would ask, why would you go back to a place where prophecy says you're going to be destroyed?
Well, I don't know if you mean the Armageddon or something.
Yeah, it's
or
Armageddon.
What do you mean?
We're talking about the Armageddon.
Well, okay, that's interesting.
Prophecy.
The terms of that. Well,
and why would you deal with the people who have set themselves up to destroy you?
Well, that brings you into a whole thing about the rapture and the thing at the end of time and everything. And the Christians think the Jews are going to either convert or to Christianity at the end, and it's going to be at another level, at an elevated spiritual level.
Yeah,
and we're not in an elevated spiritual level. We're still mired in history.
Now we'll be dead. Though. Remember, we're gone. The dead are going to be at another spiritual level.
Those who asserted the state of Israel, the Zionists, they collaborated with the Nazis to get rid of the Jews, and they were doing that, and they were jumping the gun historically, that is before the time, for the end time, for Moshiach, as they would say. And the people who were most objecting to the state, the existence of the state of Israel, with all the trials and tribulations they're bringing down on themselves, for jumping the gun in terms of trying to hasten the appearance of the end time of Moshiach, or the 12th Imam, or second coming of Jesus, or whatever come out of the spiritual traditions. And so, but it's the legitimacy assumed by the people that have the power that is under question. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, obviously the legitimacy,
it's
you and I are not going to be able to talk about the legitimacy of the power. America is going to continue to protect any place in the world, whether it be Australia, Argentina, or other places around us, any place in the world that has the same foundation that it has.
And that foundation is shaking.
And America will say to me,
their foundation is shaking. They don't have a vision needed by the future of humanity.
Jews can go back to Israel, but I can't go home.
Where's home for you? Where's
Africa?
Home?
It's always home.
You can go home. You can go live in Africa.
No, I can't go to Africa.
Yeah.
I can't. I can go home as an individual,
Coley.
but I ask millions of people in the United States. Yeah. In fact, if 15,000 Africans show up at the airport talking about we going back to Africa, we'll understand our real position in America.
Really?
Ain't no doubt about it.
Why? You mean who wouldn't let you go? I mean, the African countries, or
African countries will also bend, many of them, to the will of the West.
Well, that's what Garvey wanted, didn't he?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And we see what happened to Garvey, don't we?
Yeah, but understand also, we're all Africans.
Oh, I'm not arguing that point.
We're all arguing the point. We should all go to Africa. We should all go to Kenya.
No. I'm on the last group of people out of Africa who have historical and cultural links, spiritual bonds.
Slaves.
Is this African?
Yeah.
All right?
I hear you. Yeah.
Everybody can talk about all African. I'm the one with spiritual bonds. I'm the one that has not been allowed to keep my name.
Right.
I'm the one who is not allowed to keep my language.
Tradition or
my language.
Yeah, right.
The things that
That's
make
what
me,
I was saying.
Things that make me human.
I swear to God, they had Santeria in Cuba or something, but I think in North America was the worst. In terms of cutting the identity out, and just the viciousness of what was represented by North American slavery was the worst in the world.
Gonna raise me up a nation.
Sing it, girl.
That will
Sing it.
obey.
Yeah.
It's because we were raised on that stuff, too. I mean, blacks had to be raised on it. This whole thing of raising up the nation, that the African became a piece of clay in the hands of the imperial capitalist. And we are supposed to be shaped and molded to do what the mule does. And when we don't do it, we get hit upside the head with a stick.
Yeah, just stay in that thing and do what you... Yeah, I know.
That's correct.
There's so much of that in
So I'm just saying, when we look at the world, we have many of us. The biggest example I know is the example of people wanting to go back in recent time. Remember in the early 80s, the 70s, it had to be around mid-70s, a group in Holland, group of blacks, wanted to go back to the islands in the east.
In Holland?
Yeah, they were Dutch.
Okay.
They captured a train one morning. And the whole world looked at the train with these young, and I was tickled because I had a brother, not tickled that the aspirations were being crushed, because I was happy with that. But tickled that my brother, who also had his big afro, and these boys all had that big afro, that same brown color, looking just like them. He had just become America's national checker champion.
Oh, really?
And was on his way to Holland to a national checker championship. And my mother was saying, oh, She said, get out, calling all this. She said, look at this train. So all of us are up in our own individual homes looking at the train on TV. And I said, oh, a whole lot of Dickies. His name was Dickie, but Warren is his actual name. But Dickie is what we called him. I said, a whole lot of Dickies. Ain't this something?
Yeah,
so
well.
boy, don't get over there. They're going to confuse you with the others.
Well, but
they were not allowed to go home.
Right.
And the world watched a group of people in Holland, in Dutchland, take a train to make that statement. Obviously, the train wasn't going to take them to the Far East, where they came from.
Yeah, no, take them to the boat.
I can't remember, it was a Malboyan Island or something, one of those systems. But these people had been removed, 30,000 of them, and they only wanted to go home. 1970s.
Yeah.
And nothing is done by the rest of the world to assert their human right to return home.
Well, we'd all be in Africa.
So we have all of these things
There's
all
not
over
enough
the
room
world.
for all of us in Africa. We couldn't all fit in
fit
Africa.
where you gotta fit, fit where you gotta fit. But the last group out, Mama
should have had the first right back.
Not just the first right back. I have a right to not be placed where my enemy brought me to.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm a prisoner of war.
Well, okay.
And as a prisoner of war, I want to go back, a descendant of prisoners of war.
So we wish
I want to go back, and that's my option. I was denied a right to referendum at the end of this thing called slavery.
That's
which I didn't create.
Yeah, that's right.
I was a prisoner of war.
That's right.
Placed in something that somebody else called slavery. Spent my time in there. Then they said they called it over.
Yeah, that's right.
And made me a slave or wage slavery to something new.
That's right.
So I don't hear this crap.
That's the world you live into. A couple problems left, right?
Yeah, because we and it's very difficult for Africans, just like you said, we all have to. But for Africans to perceive that, because we've been so warped in the head.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We've all been hit in the head,
Couldn't
Harold.
agree with you more.
I was looking at the boxcar
children. But the establishment's been hit now. And I think some things they believe, so their legitimacy, and so, I don't know. I think the whole system is up for
we're going to come together, Harold.
Reinterpretation.
People who, the worker in this country, along with Africans and others, especially Africans and Latins, are going to come together in this country if we are going to survive.
Sorry about the thing.
Except that we have been hit in the head too when it hit our system. Coming together and accept that the system was never meant for us, never worked for us really, even though some of us had more toys than others. Once we accept that as Africans and other peoples of color, and as workers in this country, women in this country, aged in this country, young in this country. Once we understand it's about the people and not the owner of the natural resources, because those are our resources, and nobody owns them but us.
What about that technology, dear? All that technology is owned by people too. We need a new economic.
That technology belongs to us. You know, there's a
well, it doesn't. It belongs to the man that's got the stock ownership and the institutions that embody it.
We let them define for us. But if you go back and look at most of that technology, started from aeons ago, across time. Everything builds on everything else. There's a piece of poetry called America Runs on Black. And it's about all them black inventions from the filament in that light bulb to the elevators we ride, to refrigeration where we keep our things cool, to the routing system for trains and whatever. America runs on black. But you know, Harold,
I got to get that book. I want you to get that book to me.
It's a piece. I'll bring you the poetry.
Okay, good.
I paid $10 for it.
Listen, one of the trouble is we run out of time. I think everybody should watch.
We need to get together.
Yeah, we do. Well, we're getting together here, honey. So good to see you.
Wonderful
so good.
Seeing
Glad you're up and about.
Haiti is the word.
All right, that's
we both got a right to go to Haiti first, so let's go to Haiti.
Let's go. I wouldn't mind going to Haiti at all.
Let's open up the university systems and take them to Haiti.
I think everybody ought to watch Charlie Wilson's War. They're going to go to Afghanistan and everything, and that's going to apply.
See it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about shooting down gunships.
But all freedom-loving people all freedom-loving people got a right to citizenship in Haiti.
All right, and they have a right to assert themselves against.
That's correct. And
inappropriate exercise military power against them. I think. Your pleasure to have the perceptions of the Colia Clark. And it's so good to talk to you, darling. Please tune in. We're coming back again tomorrow, but that's it for now. A lot of problems.